Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready to take a bite out of the competition? Are you looking for ideas to make your business better? Welcome to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. At the core of every successful business, you'll find people making a difference. And with each episode of the Core Business Show, we talk with those people, examine those ideas, and explore the strategies that make them special. Now, the host of the Core Business Show, Tim Jacquet.
Good morning and welcome to another episode of the Core Business Show. I'm Tim Jacquet, your host. Today, our topic is building better business relationships. My special guest is Gary Loper. He is with Crystal Pathways. If you'd like to join in the conversation, please give us a call at 347-324-3460, or you can go ahead and post a question in the chat room, and I'll go ahead and read it on the air, or Twitter at #AppleCapital. Gary, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. I guess to begin with, listeners love personal stories. So, if you don't mind, tell us about yourself.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff to narrow down. From originally or lately?
No, you pick. We like they learn something new about a person every single time they tell us. So,
well, I guess it's really, I don't know. I think I went back and sort of really looked at the transformation that started in my life. Probably was happened, and I remember this date because a doctor told me this date. On August 9th, 1989, I was working in a factory, and I wrenched my back. And when I went to the doctor, he sort of noticed the date because he looked at the symbolism of the numbers in it. And that's really sort of started me on a path to be able to do something, because I realized that there was probably more in my head and my heart that I wanted to be able to do and wanted to be able to use than using my back or operating machinery all the time. So that was really when I dived into the self-help, personal development. I went back to school after, I think it was about 15 years after high school. I hadn't decided what I wanted to be. But then I went into marketing and sales programs. And then from that, I went to work for a small telemarketing company where we were doing customer satisfaction surveys for Buick and things. So that, and I was very fortunate then because I had a great mentor who saw people and potential in people. And she gave me a lot of opportunities when there was a lot of other things that were going on in my life that weren't right, going through a divorce and the injury and a lot of the other stuff that was going on. And that really was the catalyst to be able to look at it. And it's sort of really amazing that, 89 to 12, what's the math on that? 11, 23 years, that it's just been an everyday just saturation with wanting to try to find a better way to be able to be.
Wow.
In my own personal relationships, and primarily with myself. And that's where I sort of look at what building better relationships is for me, is to be able to become the best me I can be. And then when I'm in a partnership with somebody else, I need to be able to try to help them to be able to be their best while still maintaining my best. And I really think that's been a key to be doing a lot of other things to be able to shift, and that's where the impetus comes from. I've taken some of my other experiences of my life, family situation where my parents weren't wired to be able to love and accept me the way that I wanted to be able to be. And so over time, and probably was in about 40 years, that I sort of figured out that they weren't able to do that. So sort of grown into an acceptance of what people were able to do and what they can't do. And so as a coach, I'm looking for people who want to be able to, who can see where they are, but want something more and be able to sort of repair some of those injuries, some of those limitations, so they can be able to be the best they can be, to be able to take that in their business. Because if they're coming from a solid foundation of themselves and that they have all of those balance points, that they can be much more effective and they can give that extra value to a customer that's going to have that customer keep coming back all the time.
Wow. When you talk about, you had this moment in August 9th, 1989, that catapulted you to this new level in your life. In that particular moment, that aha moment, what inspired you to just take that leap? Some people will have this burning in their hearts, but they just scared to take a leap, to go out beyond what their comfort level is.
I guess at the time, I just remember one of the thoughts that were in my mind was I wanted to live to be 100 years old. And I had worked in factories before, right out of high school, and done a lot of other things. So the cuts and the stitches and the injuries and just some of the other stuff going on there. I go, on one level, I'm saying I'm not going to live to 100 in this kind of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then also started looking at the people and the mentality and the attitudes of a lot of the people that I was working with. It wasn't something that was going to keep boosting me up and lifting me up, because I know I've always been hungry for information, wanting to learn, and to be able to be around smarter people that I could be able to learn from. And I wasn't necessarily finding those extra skills in those people around me. So I just started really looking at it and projecting my life out. It's like, is this where I want to be able to be? I guess I remember that in one of the early Tony Robbins tapes that I listened to, he just kept talking. He mentioned about take a look at your situation now, and if you change absolutely nothing, what is it going to feel like 6 months from now? And what's it going to feel like a year from now, and a 5 year from now, 20 years from now? And the idea is that if that situation brings you some level of pain or discomfort, you're not liking what you're in now, and you do nothing, I feel that it's not going to stay the same. It's going to progressively get worse for you. And so I started looking at it as this is not where I want my life to be able to be. I know that I have a lot more within me, an untapped potential, that unless I get this out somehow, I'm going to die with that potential inside of me. And then I'll just be one of those old grumpy old guys sitting around just drinking beer all day long and just falling asleep and not producing anything, not contributing anything, not realizing I could be able to make an impact on people's lives.
Wow. What do you say to a person that comes to you as a client and say, hey, I need someone to take charge of me and guide me because I feel like I'm just losing control. I can't stay focused. I'm all over the place, and I need some guidance to get me on a certain path.
Well, we try to find out where the path is. What is it they want to be able to do? Utilize their best skills. Again, probably with a lot of the messages that I share on Twitter and everything else, there's a lot of inspiration. There's quotes that run through my head all the time. I just remember Jim Rohn saying once that trying to be able to do two businesses or to be able to run a couple different projects at a time is like trying to herd cats. So the idea is let's focus on one thing. Let's focus on one thing that you're going to be good at, get some results, because I really think that's probably an important part of the thing. I know from my own experience and working with other people is that if you've got a lot of things going on, you probably got a lot of things going on because you hadn't gotten results and you're saying, well, I'm trying this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, and you're not putting enough effort into one of those things to be able to make it work and get some results. And then once you get those results, you get the experience, you get the confidence to be able to do more and grow. And then you can be able, as that's growing and flourishing, then you can be able to add some of the other pieces to the puzzle. But there's probably multifaceted in this as well. Is I'm a huge component of our daily habits. I do a number of things. I have a monthly checkoff list. One of the things, just for my personal side, I need to start walking more. Been sitting behind the desk too much and gaining weight. So I got a chart where I write down how much I'm going to be on the elliptical every day or how much I'm going to. So all those things are important to me that I need to be able to make a daily habit. So if you're in your business and you need to go to networking events, you need to be making phone calls, you need to be communicating through social media, whatever the facets that you want to be able to do, get a daily checklist of those things and make sure that you're doing that, because if you're not measuring it, if you're not looking at it, one, you can't be able to determine your results. But two, I really think subconsciously it gives you a win for the days. It's like looking at those checks off on there, also being able to use your gratitude journal and recap your day. I think a lot of times people go through so much stuff and they don't realize what they've accomplished. My mastermind calls a lot, says,
wow,
well, I don't know what I did. Well, did you write it down every day? And I think if you write down the things that you do every day, you're going to feel a whole lot better because you are making progress, even though when it doesn't seem that way. So it's a lot of daily habits, mindset, picking one thing to focus on. And I know there's a lot of things, but that's where we'd start.
We're going to take a break real quick, and we're going to talk about, I guess, continue with the conversation, and then I think move into a couple other things that's on your website called the Yes Energy. But when we come back, I want to talk about people who too hard on themselves. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Go ahead and take a station break, and we'll be back in a moment.
You're listening to the Core Business Show, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. Apple Capital Group in Jacksonville, Florida, is a commercial lender that specializes in asset-based loans, equipment leasing and financing, invoice financing, commercial real estate loans, and asset-based financing in the U.S. and Canada. Apple Capital Group is a direct lender that lends on their private equity investment portfolio. 90% of most loans are decided within 2 hours, and vendor funding within 24 hours after documents are completed with a one-page application. No slow no's, just a quick decision and a fast yes. To get more information about lending from Apple Capital Group, call 866-611-7457. That's 866-611-7457 to speak with one of our loan specialists. Or visit us right now at applecapitalgroup.com. Welcome back to the Core. Once again, here's Tim.
We're back talking about building better relationships. I'm special guest today. Okay, I'm sorry. It's Gary Loper. Someone just handed me something to distract me. I'm sorry, Gary. But anyway, kind of tell us, Gary, about the people who's really hard on themselves. There are some people whose expectations are so high, and if they fail, they just beat themselves to death. What advice do you have?
Well, I know from my personal experience, I sort of grew up, like when I mentioned before, that my parents weren't equipped for the emotional support in the way that I needed it. And because of that, and that longing for that attention and not getting it, I was always in that mode of always trying to be able to do more, that nothing was good enough, that if I just tried to do this, then I would get that attention. And that never came. And over time, that really beat up my self-confidence because I didn't feel that anything that I did was good enough. So I think that what it really comes down to is there are a lot of unfulfilled emotional needs that go back to our childhood, that we bring into our adulthood, that we're still looking for approval, recognition, motivation in some way. And what I've really found is, and it sounds simple, but we got to start finding that confidence and start believing in ourselves, to be able to jump back and be able to look at what have we accomplished, looking at what we've done. I've given people exercises at times, is to be able to write down 100 things that you've done in your life that you are proud of. Because I think what happens is we have this tendency, because if we have this strive for perfection or this strive for recognition and not getting it, we keep doing that, and we lose sight, again, what we talked about in the gratitude journals, is what we did accomplish and what we have done. And I think it's really, it comes down to it. And when you talk, and this is sort of the bridge, one of the bridges we could use into the Yes Energy, is that one of the elements of the Yes Energy equation is changing the conversation. So a lot of the self-talk that we've got going on in our head is thinking that we're not good enough, we're not this, we're not that. What are those based on? Are those based on, like in my situation, where the people that we were looking for that recognition weren't able to give it, and keep trying to be able to do that? So to try to shift our thoughts into our positive affirmations, looking through there, celebrating our small things. And I really believe that if we can be able to put a filter on our brain and what comes out of our mouth and what comes out of our thoughts, just like our air conditioner, our cars got all the filters and everything else. So we need to be able to filter what we're allowing to come in and what we're allowing to come out of that. And I know what I've done, that's one of the big hurdles that I've come through, is being able to stop beating myself up and looking at, I am good at this. I do have these strong skills. People's lives are changing because of the work that I'm doing. And I think it's a paradigm shift kind of thing. You got to be able to overcome a lot of old programming and be able to look at and say, well, this wasn't working. These people were probably tried to do the best that they could on what they knew they could do. But I think we're very fortunate now to live in a time now we can to find new ways and be able to look for different ways to be able to improve things. And I think it's really it's that self-talk. It's rebuilding our self-confidence. Another thing that we can look at too is surrounding ourselves with some better people. I always love that one, the comment where it's like your potential income, your mindset, all these other things is the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So if you're hard on yourself, you're going through that. I think if you start hanging around a number of people who are these yes energy positive people like that, they won't do that. So if we change some of the people we're around us, so are the people around us doing that? Are they negative? Are they beating themselves up doing that? Because the real successful people probably aren't taking time to be able to do that.
Wow. On the Yes Energy, you have an 8-week course. Can you walk us through those 8 weeks? And then after that, just going to walk us through that. And then I think we're almost out of time. Then kind of tell us more about your company and how we can contact you.
Okay. Well, Yes Energy is I think it's really the missing piece in a lot of the things that we've grown our business to and our personal relationship. It was written by Laurel Langmeyer, who's one of the top financial experts in the country. So this is her 5th bestseller. And she was asked to be able to write a book about not so much just the successes in her life, but overcoming the challenges. She has a saying that says, say yes and figure out how. Or you can also add that is say yes and find somebody else who knows how. So, and what it really is, she took these 8 elements of the Yes Energy equation. I'll just make sure we page through and get them all right for you. But over the 8-week course, we're going to dive into the book, and the book is breaking off into sections. And the elements of this equation are what we talked about is changing the conversation. Mm-hmm. So we're going to probably spend a lot of time in that because I think that's a major hurdle for a lot of people to get through some of that self-doubt internal conversation going on. We're also going to learn how to be able to reconnect to our faith. Whatever you call it, God, source, the universe. I really found that by having a foundation based in faith and knowing that there's a power higher than me that's got my back and has helped leading me towards what I need to be doing and how to be able to serve more is a critical element in this. We're also going to talk about how to be able to build that confidence and certainty. So we touched on that a little bit. And also to be able to open up into your dreams. I think there's a lot of people who have gotten beaten down enough by the economy and a lot of other situations that they've lost their dreams. So we're going to give some people some new hope so they can be able to get some big dreams back in their lives. We're going to look at being able to honor our gifts. I work a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs and beginning entrepreneurs, people who may still be straddling in their jobs, and they may not even realize the number of gifts that they already have, that they don't have to go and learn a new skill. They don't have to go back to school and everything else. If you've been in the world long enough and somebody's paid you to be able to do something, you are probably going to be able to package those skills and those gifts into something that somebody else is going to pay you for directly. And we're also going to look at building a team. That's where they're finding somebody else to know how. I know for me, I love to coach. I just really thrive on coaching, bringing that information out, empowering people. But sitting down with the checkbook and the bookkeeping and the taxes, doing the lawn work and that stuff like that, that's not the best use of my time. So to be able to realize where your skills are and then be able to find other people to do those other things that need to get done, which then will allow you to be able to earn more money doing the things that you love to be able to do. And one of the last important step in the Yes Energy equation is the sequencing, is learning how to be able to do these things in the right order for your best results. So we're going to go through this stuff, and there's a number of inquiries. It's a lot of deep work for people who really if you're really frustrated by not being able to accomplish what you wanted to be able to accomplish, if you knew there was potential, you haven't been able to tap into it. For us, we went through a lot of other coaching programs and a lot of other things, but there was an element that was missing. And I know when we started applying this, when the book came out in February, our whole lives, our personal lives and our business lives, it was like it was injected with rocket fuel. because we took off a lot of the self-imposed breaks that we had in our relationship and the business.
Wow.
So we're going to do that. We're going to start that class up on August 14th, which is a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. It's going to be an 8-week course over the telephone. So we'll have a conference call line. We're going to set up a closed Facebook page for you to be able to post your homework, make connections, create even a little bit of a community within the group. We're going to limit the group to about 10 people, just so you're not bombarded with a lot of other things, but a chance to be able to learn and grow and find out that some of the struggles that you're having, you're not by yourself. So if they're looking for more information on that, you can go to my website, GaryLoper.com, look for the Yes Energy tab, or just email me at GaryLoper.com, or tweet me at Gary Loper, and just put in Yes Energy, and we'll send you the links so you can be able to see all the information and the details.
Wow. Well, Gary, thank you for coming to the program. Really appreciate the time we spent. And again, what is your website address again, Nez?
It's Gary Loper, GaryLoper.com.
.com. Great. Gary, thank you for coming on the program.
All right. Appreciate it.
Take care. Thank you again. Take care. Bye-bye. Again, this has been another production of the Core Business Show. I'm Tim JK, your host. You can download this episode on iTunes or Blog Talk Radio. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim JK. For more information about equipment financing and asset-based loans, visit our website, applecapitalgroup.com. That's applecapitalgroup.com. Or call us at 866-611-7457. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. And remember, you can always get to the core via iTunes. You'll find all our previous episodes there. And thanks again for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim JK.